Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here is a sign on the front door of a cafe in Texas. It read, "Push. If that doesn't work, pull. If that doesn't work either, that's because we're closed." Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America on a Monday, the first Monday in May. Have a great one. Callers call in with the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, thank you very much. And there she is, Kate Smith, and God bless America. What a beautiful day outside. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And we really want to say thank you to Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Thank you so much. And also to some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Now, without further ado, let's go to the phone lines and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, Zeb.
How are you, my friend?
Good. I'd love to say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, please tell me, sir, I do not recall your voice. Have you done the pledge before?
I have not, Zeb. This is Leon.
Well, thank you very much, and don't make yourself a stranger. That was excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right, sir. God bless. Wow, we've got new people calling in all the time for that pledge. Thank you very much. Whoa, have we got a busy day today, and right now it's time for the weather, as it always is, right off the bat. And it's brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Ooh, look for the blue door. All your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor items, whatever you need to make your house a home. And they've got so many great ideas over there. You know, mix it up. Mix it up patterns and textures. Mix it up old and new, expensive and inexpensive, and just change the whole look of your home. And for a lot more information, contact Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 678-6945. Right now, here's our lovely Gina with the weather.
Not too shabby as we kick off the very first work week in May, but by the end of the week, could see some rain showers in the forecast. For today, sunny skies, high of 69. Tonight, we're expecting a low of 40. Tomorrow, sunny skies and 74 with an overnight low of 43. By Wednesday, we're going to see those clouds rolling in. Partly cloudy and 77 for Wednesday, 76 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, looks like rain showers could be in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s to low 70s. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, she does a great job on that weather. Thank you, Gina. And brought to you by some dear friends of ours, Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Really, really nice people. I've got a lot of things to talk about this morning. First and foremost, in just a moment, I'm going to give you an address, and I want you to send a happy birthday card to Russell Smith up at the VA in Pocatello. Now, it is his birthday is on Friday, and just give me a moment, and I'll give you that address so we can all send a happy birthday wish, okay? Don't forget, Minidoka County Sheriff Eric Snar is running for re-election, and he is a working sheriff that is out in the field doing any job necessary. His pledge to you to make your community safer, and he appreciates your vote on May 17th. His promise is to do the best for you each and every day. Don't forget, Eric Snar for re-election for Minidoka County Sheriff, paid for by the Re-elect Eric Snar Committee, Jason Gibbons, Secretary. And also, Shirley Halford Hubbard is running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, born and raised in Oakley and moved to Burley and has roots all over this part of the country. And she absolutely wants to serve you and preserve agriculture and make sure it prospers in each community in Cassia County. And she has great knowledge base and wants to be ever diligent in making sure decisions for Cassia County. Don't forget, Shirley Halford Hubbard for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by the Halford Hubbard for County Commissioner, Lois Reinhardt, Treasurer. All right, here is, I've got to mark these off here real quick, stand by. Here is the address to send our dear friend and my hero, Russell Smith, a happy birthday card up at the VA in Pocatello. It is the VA Hospital, Pocatello, and it's 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive. 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive, and that's at the Veterans Administration Hospital. Is that right? Oh, it's Idaho State Veterans Home. Thank you. I just had the VA hospital. I'm sorry. Idaho State Veterans Home. Scratch what I said a moment ago. Idaho State Veterans Home, right address, 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive, and that's in Pocatello at 83201, or you can call him. Try calling him at 208-235-7838. 208-235-7838. Okay? I'll give that to you again. But it is his birthday coming up on Friday. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you. Please give me 30 seconds. Don't forget Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Oh, man, I was in there the other day, and we picked up some clothes, and again, I'm always impressed. They come back to us looking brand spanking new. Oh, they can do the same for you with all your Rumply Crumplies, and if you prepay, you're going to get 10% off on your bill. So stop into Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And by the way, too, also, we wouldn't be on the air this morning if it weren't for SafeLink Internet letting us get all the information from about 4:30 this morning on that's going on around the world. SafeLink Internet, and the number to call. And by the way, they've had some people that call me and say, hey, they've got some employment opportunities over there at SafeLink Internet. You check it out. Call them at 677-8000. They've got over 10,000 customers, and wow, are they reliable. Call today, 677-8000, SafeLink Internet. All right, good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, old friend.
You always say old friend with the emphasis on old.
Oh, I'm right there with you.
I know you are.
Hey, maybe it's just me, but did you listen to any of the Correspondents dinner?
I did. Almost all of it.
With our comedian-in-chief.
Yeah, or lack of.
Anyway, did you catch that when he said it was his last Correspondents dinner, or maybe the last Correspondents dinner?
Yeah, I did. As a matter of fact, you kind of stole a little bit of the thunder out of my storm this morning because I was going to comment on that. Whether it was a verbal faux pas, or whether there was some underlying meaning, or whether he just tripped up and said something that was supposed to leave the cat in the bag, I don't know. But there was something there that bothered me just like it did you.
Yes, I mean, well, he's stated in speeches and openly that if the wind blows he's going to stand with Muslims, not the U.S.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's out of his own mouth. And this is coming out of his own mouth. And so there's something in the wind, ladies and gentlemen out there. We need to pay attention.
You know, and Doug, this is not a conspiracy theory. It's not anything that, oh my goodness, extreme right-wingers, everything is going to be bleak, black helicopters, people coming down on ropes and everything. It's what people say. It's what people like him have intended to let the public know that they want to remain in power. I want to go back, though, just a moment, if I can, with you, and talk about his humor, if you will. Now, this is my own personal opinion, Doug. If you don't agree, you can tell me I'm wrong. But most presidents in the past, most of them, I'm looking at George Bush, I'm looking at George Bush Sr., I'm looking at Bill Clinton, I'm looking at a lot of presidents, always used at these press dinners a lot of self-deprecating humor to kind of run themselves down a little bit, get some chuckles. Not Obama. He absolutely highlighted running everybody else down, but never said anything negative about him or his administration or some of his faux pas.
Very true. This man, he thinks he's above everybody. He thinks he's perfect, and he's far from that. There's only one perfect human being that ever walked this earth, and they crucified him.
Well, and the other thing that I wanted to bring out quickly, and then I got to do a break, buddy, is the fact that he hired some professional joke writers for that Correspondents dinner. And I might be wrong, and if I am, I'll stand corrected. I don't think there's been any president in the past that has done that.
I don't know. I've never heard one way or the other on it, but I don't think he was smart enough to write all those.
Absolutely not. And some of the humor, I underline that word, I'm very prejudiced against Obama. I don't like the man. So if it was tremendously funny, I still wouldn't have laughed. But some of the humor was very jaded and sharp, and I didn't like it.
Yes. Yeah, this is very true. And, you know, the man himself, personally, you know, I could take or leave. It's just his policies and what he has done to this country is why I don't like him.
Doug, always appreciate your call. Don't ever quit. Thank you, buddy.
You bet.
All right, thank you. I've got to brag a little bit about food. I love food and great food, and that's what you're going to get at Denny's Restaurant. You're going to get a lot of it, and it's going to be great. Absolutely. Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 Overland in Burley or 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. Oh, my goodness. I love their omelets over there. I love omelets, and I love breakfast in general. That's my favorite meal. So you stop in anytime, all the time, breakfast, lunch, or dinner at America's Diner. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and the other location just down the road a little bit at 291 Pole Line in Twin Falls. Really, really good. And by the way, too, don't forget our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, my goodness sakes, at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Hello, Ramsey's. All your heating, all your cooling, all your light bulbs, anything you need, all your electric needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And they're open at 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday. Call ahead 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, serving you. Really nice people. Oh, by the way, I'd love to get some phone calls. What did you think? And I know this ought to, for those that watch the news, I watched this story, and I was so repulsed by this story of punks. Absolutely left-wing, trouble-making, worthless punks in Seattle on May Day yesterday, causing all kinds of problems with riots. And then looking back a couple of days ago to the Trump rally in California, and these left-wing punks destroying a squad car and throwing rocks and doing everything they can to be disruptive against the police. Is that the left that you want to take over this country? Is that the left that's represented by some of the people like Hillary or Bernie Sanders? Yes, it is. And it's despicable. 9 were arrested. There should have been 10 times that number. 5 policemen were hurt. They had to use tear gas grenades in Seattle. The left is out to destroy America, and I dare anybody to call me on the show at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587, and tell me that's not true. The left is out to destroy this country, America. They can't get their way, or they can't get the person they want, and they riot. Or if it's a person of conservative values, they riot because they want that voice stifled. That's the problem with America today, is the liberal left. Bottom line, they are a bunch of worthless crybaby punks that will do anything, underline the word anything, to get their way. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Don't forget Cutting Edge Curbing. Really nice people. Sarah and Mike Baxter over in Rupert at 424 16th Street in Rupert. And the number to call, 808-3360. 808-3360 for your Cutting Edge Curbing. Adding a lot of beauty and value to your property. Oh, my goodness, yes. It comes in different styles, comes in different colors, comes in different stamps. You're going to love it. Call them today, 808-3360, Cutting Edge Curbing. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Where's Wheels?
What do you mean, where's Wheels?
Well, don't he answer the phone?
Oh, how did you get on the air if he didn't answer the phone?
Anyway, I watched that Correspondents dinner, and geez. It's just a sick society that they have there. But when you go to an event like that where you have a famous person or something like that, you laugh at something just to be courteous.
Do you really?
Were you been an entertainer?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I don't. I make it a point not to. If I find something that's said that denigrates or something that's said that is absolutely untrue in a jocular form, no, Keith, I'm not going to laugh or smile just to be courteous. No, I refuse to.
Well, I admire you for that, but isn't the statement I made true that people they want the president to love them also?
Yeah.
And so they're humoring by laughing.
No, I think you've got a point there. I don't know whether or not looking into the audience and seeing somebody from Fox News giggling or tee-heeing at your jokes means that he's going to be any more copacetic to helping them. I don't know if I agree with that, but I will say that I've sat at many occasions to where a speaker or someone that was going to introduce me, and I've sat at the dais many times being introduced, and the so-called master of ceremonies tried to make jokes, tried to make something funny, and one time it happened to me that he made a joke about my legs and my crutches. I don't mind laughing about that when I do a self-deprecating style of humor, but I don't need somebody when they're standing up at a podium doing it before they introduce me. I looked at him with kind of a steely-eyed stare as if to say, what makes you think you're perfect?
Well, you're absolutely right, and I've been in front of a lot of people at times when I was president of the National Leaders Association, and sometimes you'll say something humorous and they'll laugh, and sometimes they don't laugh, and that's an embarrassing situation.
Well, it is. In this,
want to embarrass the president.
Yeah, but the president embarrassed himself last night, or I should say I think it was Friday night at that Correspondents dinner. He embarrassed himself because he ran down so many people in his so-called joke storytelling. But a lot of presidents that I can remember, going back to Ford and back to Reagan. Reagan really was self-deprecating and running himself down quite a bit, but it was a funny circumstance. He ran himself down sometimes to get a laugh. Obama is above that. He runs everybody else down, but never anything about him or his policies.
Yeah, and what happened to being politically correct, like not using the N-word?
Yeah, oh my goodness.
Or the word Jigaboo.
Yeah.
He said that himself.
I know it, and I sat there and I just cringed and I thought, you charlatan, how dare you do that and then criticize the rest of us. Keith, I got to get a commercial in. God bless you for your call. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Don't forget Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Did I mess up rehabilitation? I think I did. Rehabilitation. There you go. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. I love this phrase because it's so true. They help you get back to being you. Nick Greenwell and the rest of the great staff of physical therapists, they know the exercises. They can review your charts and look at everything and make sure they have the right for you. Sports medicine, exercises, work in the hydrotherapy pool. Oh, man, they are good. Call 678-1191. 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Call them for an appointment today. Oh, my. Let's see. What else have I got here? I got a whole list of political ads, and then give me a call. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Tomorrow is the Indiana primary, and I want to give you a couple of things about that, what's going on with Ted Cruz and also with Donald Trump. I thought it was kind of humorous what took place the other night. Right now, I'd like to mention to you that Tim Darrington is running for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3. A lifelong resident of Cassia County, is a farmer and rancher, and believe me, he wants to serve and help Cassia County. Wants to provide good roads, safe environment, and a good quality of life, and he encourages job opportunities, new industry, and smart growth. And he wants what's best for the citizens of Cassia County now and for future generations. Don't forget, on May 17th, vote for Tim Darrington, Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by Darrington for Commissioner Committee, Gail Erickson, Treasurer. There you go. Also, we have a man running for Twin Falls County Sheriff, and that is Cliff Katona. And he's a man that has done a lot of civic work in the area, along with being in police work for 28 years of distinguished law enforcement with the state of Idaho, Idaho State Policeman for 19 of those years. And he wants the Sheriff's Department to grow and prosper with Magic Valley, and wants to be a visible sheriff in the community, addressing people's concerns. Don't forget, he promises to be proactive for Twin Falls County. Cliff Katona for Twin Falls County Sheriff, paid for by the Katona for Twin Falls County Sheriff Committee, Jim Woolley, Chairman. All right, your turn. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Tomorrow's the Indiana primary. And this is really nuts, about all these polls. One poll came out and said that Cruz was leading Trump. Oh, my. But then 6 other polls came out and said that Trump was way ahead of Cruz. So which one do you think the Cruz people jumped on the bandwagon? Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Ted.
How are you?
What a election year we are going to have.
Amen.
And it is worrisome because we have so many people who are not very respectful of their neighborhoods or their neighbors or even the people in their cities. And I think there's going to be a lot of things. I hope I'm wrong. I really hope I'm wrong. But before our next election is final, I think there's going to be things that's going to put a black eye on the United States. And I really believe that our president has a way of getting the word out to the destructive ones that go ahead. This is your chance.
Well, Chris, I'm not going to argue with you. As a matter of fact, it's building up like the froth on the top of an adult beverage called beer. I mean, this thing is just fomenting itself into a problem. When I looked at these punks, and did you happen to see the videotape of the activities in California the other night with those punks destroying that squad car, etc.? Did you see that? Did you happen to notice the age bracket of which almost everyone was when they showed the close-up on the film? They were probably all under 24 or 25 years of age or less.
Pretty young, but they still should have known better.
Well, no, my point is, this is the millennial generation that absolutely is demanding that they give everything free. They're demanding free college. They're demanding free this. They're demanding discounts on that. They've never worked. They've never had any responsibility. They've never had to meet a paycheck. They've never had to feed a family. And they're probably living still with their parents, on their parents' insurance. And these are the people that are the liberal left that are disrupting and destroying. And that makes me sick.
Well, and if these are, just budding teenagers who are about to be, young adults, how old are their parents? Their parents have grown up being able to have a tantrum and get their way.
I agree. And
I don't know. It's an undisciplined group of kids.
Here's the scenario real quick, and I'm real late on my hard break at the bottom of the hour. But here's the scenario, Chris, and I think you'll agree with me. If Trump is taken away from the leader at the GOP convention, there's going to be all kinds of heck to pay. If Trump wins and goes on to go against Hillary, he's fighting an uphill battle because he's going to be called a sexist and everything else, and the liberals are going to go out and they're going to protest, they're going to riot, they're going to destroy. We are in for real problems with the political season.
Well, and besides that, then it's broadcast all over the world, and look what it does to America's reputation.
Absolutely. Chris, thank you for calling. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I got to get this in. Call when I've got a middle of the segment or something. I'd really appreciate your call. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, God bless. Nice lady right there. And yes, I have to get going here real quick because I'm going to give away some cinnamon rolls in just a moment. I want to also remind you about Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids with the very lovely and smart doctor of audiology. I tell you what, this Dr. Christine Pickup, she knows everything about sound. I've asked her some questions about, sound systems and everything, and she knows all about what happens with the inner ear, knows everything about the intricate structures of the ear and hearing loss and how it can be helped. So please get a hold of her today for a hearing screening at 312-0957, located across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. It is time, actually it's past time, for me to give away a half dozen cinnamon rolls to a first-time winner only. No cheating out there. All you have to, this is an easy question this morning, Deanne. Get ready to write the name down. From Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, what a bakery. Oh, what a restaurant. You're going to love it. Sophie's Chatterbox. And they're giving away a half dozen delicious cinnamon rolls right now. And if you win, call them and let them know when you'll be over to pick them up. Okay? Here is the question. Easy one. I've asked it before. I'm going to ask it again. What was John Wayne's real name? That's an easy one. What was John Wayne's real name? Call me at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Right now, real quick, first-time winners for a delicious half dozen cinnamon rolls from Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. All the winners in the past have called me and said with their mouth full, boy, are they good. Well, they are good. They're great. Give me a call right now. What was John Wayne's real name? Okay? 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I can't believe the phone lines aren't ringing. Come on, first-time callers, first-time winners, give me a call. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Was it Mary and Francis?
No! Nice try, though. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. She was close, but no cigar. Caller number 2, go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Hi, Marion Morrison.
Who is this?
It's Bill Morrison.
Well, are you related?
I wish we were.
All right, Bill, where do you live?
Well, I think way back when sometimes there was partial, yeah.
Okay, now where do you live, Bill?
What's that?
I say, where do you live?
I didn't catch you.
Over at the studio, turn that up so he can hear me. Bill Morrison, where do you live? In Burley? Rupert, where do you live, Bill?
Twin Falls.
All right. Well, Bill, you are the winner, and all you have to do is call Sophie's in Rupert. Tell them when you want those cinnamon rolls, and they'll have them hot and ready for you, okay?
Okay. Who is it we call?
Sophie's Chatterbox in Rupert. Really nice people. Great restaurant and bakery.
What's the number?
436-0354. You call them and tell them when you want them ready.
0354.
That's correct, sir.
436.
Yep.
And what's the name of the company?
It's Sophie's Chatterbox Restaurant and Bakery. Okay? Thanks, Bill. Appreciate it.
Today?
You call them anytime you're ready for those cinnamon rolls.
Okay.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You betcha. There's your winner. And that's Bill Morrison in Twin Falls. Yeah. I got to tell you a funny story. I know I'm running a little bit late, but I had somebody say the other day, well, yeah, but isn't your radio station based out of the Mini-Cache area? Well, yeah, what difference is that? Well, what about the Twin Falls people? I said, gee, I didn't know that the airwaves stopped at the county line and then ran back. Heaven's sakes, we cover all the valley. Give us a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, 3 locations serving you, South Lincoln and Jerome, and, of course, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Eli was on the other day, and we were talking about the Bobcat equipment. My goodness, they've got special prices and great financing on rental units. And check out all the skid steers, lots and lots of rental equipment. Come on in and see what they can do for you. And at the Burley location, they got a big old sandbox out behind so you can learn how to run that equipment. Barry Equipment and Rental, South Lincoln, Jerome, and Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. All right, your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know what Hillary told one of her audiences the last couple of days? And I know I'm picking. I don't like her either. She said, quote, "We cannot let the Barack Obama legacy fall into Donald Trump's hands. We cannot let the Barack Obama legacy fall into Donald Trump's hands." Legacy? Legacy? Why would any sane person or intelligent person that can study and see what has been done or not been done or what's been attempted for the last 7+ years with the Obama administration, and you want to keep that going? You really want to keep that going? You want to keep the deficit growing and growing and going up to possibly $21 or more trillion in debt? You want to see more of the heinous aspects of Obamacare? You want to see more of a not caring about national security? You want to see more of an absolute mistake and faux pas with the rest of the world as far as our world relations? Keep the Barack Obama's legacy from falling into Donald Trump's hands? Oh, Hillary, please. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. By the way, also, I want to remind you, I got to get my page turned here. Yes, sirree, Bob. Re-elect Jay Heward for Cassia County Sheriff. Born and raised in Burley, went to school at Burley High School and Idaho State University, and has been in police work for over 36 years. Knowledge of the job through experience and hard work. Don't forget, Jay knows his job and his constitutional responsibilities. Jay Heward, a sheriff you can depend on in any circumstance. Don't forget to vote May 17th for Jay Heward for Cassia County Sheriff. Paid for by the Re-elect Jay Heward Cassia County Sheriff Committee, Steve Westfall, Treasurer. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
You know, Zeb, people in this country who work hard every day and are honest, and they just take the responsibilities like men and women, and they just quietly do their job, and they don't complain, because complaining is really kind of a situation where in some cases it looks like you're just, you know, a wimp, I guess you might say. But you see, when it is being shoved down your throat by your very own government that's supposed to give you the right to pursue happiness, and you say, when do we say enough is enough and we fight back? I don't know. My brother lives in Las Vegas. He has a company. He lives in Henderson. And his obedient wife, now I may be repeating this, but it bears repeating. She's meticulous with her taxes. And so she signed up for Obamacare because if you don't, you get a penalty. And they thought maybe it would be worth the trouble. $500 a month for two people. And at the end of the year, when she went to file the taxes, they stung her for $5,000, and they never even used any of the policy. Mm-hmm. My brother was so furious, and I just said, I know. And you see, it's a situation like Clark County, Las Vegas. They re-elect the Democrats, just like, you know, what happens in California. Los Angeles, San Francisco, they're electing the governors and the senators. Portland and Oregon and Seattle, Washington. Do we want Boise to turn into that same thing?
Well, okay.
I don't know, Zeb.
It's got to the point.
To fight back.
We have to fight back, Randy. We have to fight back. But hold on just a second. This goes back and solidifies my point that I've made on this radio program for a long time. And you've called in enough and you know this is true. Absolutely. I've read the Constitution of the United States maybe more than most. I don't know. But I've got a copy here that's so dog-eared and highlighted that it's all fallen apart. But since when were we gullible enough to think that the government, our government, should be in the healthcare business and making dictates as to whether you do something or not? I don't see it in there, Randy. Gosh, did I miss it?
It's such a crock that you just want to go outside and use very bad language. And so, I don't know. But you see, in the end, screaming over the radio or screaming outside my door here in the yard will not change a thing. It's therapeutic, there's no question.
No, wait, I disagree with you.
Yeah.
I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why real quick. Because a lot of people hear you, and a lot of people go, you know what, he's right. And then a lot of people may start calling. A lot of people may start calling their senators and congressmen. A lot of people are saying, hey, we got to stop this nonsense. I think it is, and more than therapeutic, I think it actually creates momentum, and that's what I'm trying to do. As a matter of fact, you've led me up to something I wanted to talk about. A lot of groups, whether it's newspapers, whether it's various radio programs, or even television shows, many cable shows, prior to any voting, they give their preferences or their opinions on the candidates best suited for the job. I am going to do that on May 12th, and I know some people are going to get offended. Some people are going to say, how dare you do that? How dare you say that? I'm no different than any newspaper that espouses is their opinion or any TV show, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because we have good people that are running either for election or re-election, and I'm going to highlight, in my personal opinion, the ones that are going to best serve our area.
Well, the thing about, me calling in, yeah, it is. It's an opportunity, it is. And it is therapeutic. There's no question that every day I need counseling. And so, you're one of the counselors.
Well, then, okay, wait a minute. Where is my check for $500 an hour?
I don't know. I paid it to Obamacare. But this is the thing. If you have an opinion and you're afraid to call in, don't be afraid anymore, because I'll tell you what, an opinion withheld, it's time for us to all speak up, not just me. I'm always blabbing, let's face it. You know what? Let's have some other people call in, too.
I agree. I agree.
That's what we need.
Ready? Now, if you see something in the mail day after tomorrow, it's my bill for you, so please reimburse me as fast as possible, please.
Okay.
All right, buddy, thanks. Hey, it's time for the weather. I got to get to the weather, and the weather's brought to you by Urgent Care, Riverview Urgent Care of Jerome, and Urgent Care in Twin Falls. Minor emergencies, major care. No appointments necessary, quicker, less expensive. They accept all insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, and discounts for self-pay. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have a little cut, a bruise, or maybe you've done something, fell off the ladder, whatever, these are the places to go and serve you. Kyle James and the rest of his staff, absolutely excellent. At 3 locations, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome, and Urgent Care in Twin Falls. Right now, here is the weather from Gina.
Not too shabby as we kick off the very first work week in May, but by the end of the week, could see some rain showers in the forecast. For today, sunny skies, high of 69. Tonight, we're expecting a low of 40. Tomorrow, sunny skies and 74 with an overnight low of 43. By Wednesday, we're going to see those clouds rolling in. Partly cloudy and 77 for Wednesday, 76 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, looks like rain showers could be in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s to low 70s. That's your weather for Zebit the Rain.
Oh, thank you very much. Brought to you by Urgent Care in Riverview, Urgent Care in Burley, Urgent Care of Jerome, and, of course, Urgent Care in Twin Falls. And they're also doing the sports physicals for the high schools, right? Thank you, and we'll tell you more about that later on. I wasn't sure about my wording, and my lovely bride came in and made sure I had the right answer. That's the weather. And by the way, too, don't forget Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Oh, boy, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort with Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Don't forget, call them at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. This is a story I got to get on here real quick. John Wayne. John Wayne was an American icon. And last week in the California State Assembly, a resolution to honor John Wayne got shot down Thursday afternoon after the liberals, some of the liberals, said, oh no, we can't have John Wayne Day. Why, oh my goodness, he was a racist. What? Yeah, one of the guys leading the charge to stop John Wayne Day in California, Assemblyman Mike Gibson, a Democrat, and also a black, he said, certainly his movies are one thing, but in terms of his private life and also his views, I find them very offensive. You know what? Here's one of the remarks that John Wayne made before his death. Okay, and let's be honest. A different time, a different climate in America, and quite frankly, John Wayne was not politically correct. He stated this in a 1971 Playboy interview, and he said this. Now, listen carefully to the words and how he used them. We can't all of a sudden get down on our knees and turn everything over to the leadership of the blacks. I believe that the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility, and if not, I don't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership and judgment to irresponsible people. You know, there's a point to be made there, and they said something that he had made a comment earlier about how he believed in white supremacy until the blacks are educated to a point of responsibility. When you think about that, he's right. He's right, and I'm going to take some heat over that. If you don't have the education, and you haven't been afforded the education, which back in 71 perhaps there weren't enough. But today things have changed. Look, we have a black president. Look, we had a black attorney general. Oh my. But you don't just turn over things because of dictates or demands of certain people or certain groups that are demanding that they get their due share. And so John Wayne Day was stopped in California. And I find that sad, because he did a lot for people. He did a lot for people. And what are your thoughts? No John Wayne Day in California because the liberals are all upset. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Never, ever be afraid to speak out, please. Also, I want to remind you, Mama's Day. Mother's Day is coming up is it this next weekend? Oh my goodness, I got to get to the store. Mother's Day this next Sunday, and they're going to have a special at the Drift Inn at 545 F Street in Rupert, 436-1300, the number to call. And don't forget to make your reservations at the Drift Inn for delicious Mother's Day specials. Prime rib, finger steaks, butterfly shrimp. Oh, it's delicious. Chicken cordon bleu. You're going to love it, and special desserts, too, at the Drift Inn in Rupert for Mother's Day. And Colonel Dale and the crew at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley, say, hey, come on in and get Mom a brand new book, maybe fictional or a book on poetry or precious moments, figurines, music. Everything is right there at the Book Plaza. One-stop shopping at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. The Book Plaza, wishing you and your moms a very happy Mother's Day. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, good morning and happy May 2nd, Zeb.
Well, same to you. Thank you.
It's not just a crying shame, but it's a screaming shame that they did that in California. Yeah, I hope they don't do that here. I hope we go ahead and have a John Wayne Day here.
Well, okay, I agree with you. As a matter of fact, this morning when I saw this story, I'm going to try to make a special day on this program with the help of Wheels over at the main studios to where we can play some of the quotes of some of the recordings and that type of thing. I'm going to go ahead and do it, and I'm not going to ask for permission, and I'm not going to ask for political correctness. How does that sound?
Sounds great to me. All right.
Thanks.
Anyway, the millennials that you were talking about earlier,
yeah,
they're just a bunch of spoiled rotten, raised with a silver spoon in their mouth, given everything by their parents. They have no concept of a work ethic. And until they hit the real world, boy, are they going to be surprised. I
could not agree more. Sir, thank you so much for your call, as always. I appreciate it.
You have a good day, Zeb, and a better day tomorrow.
I will. Thank you very much. I thank you kindly. I got to get this word in, and then I'll take some more calls. Do not forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, my goodness. Are you ready for summer travel? Wow. I mean, they got everything over there. They've got great buys on an all-season tire, economically priced over there for your cars, starting at just $39.99 per tire. What? And then they've got a road control NW3 all-season tread smooth quiet ride starting at just $88. I'm telling you, they have got the tires ready for your summer travel, and they've got all the batteries, and they've got all the front end alignments and shocks and struts, and the best in brake service. Absolutely. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Yep, it's true. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They are the best. I've got time for another call. Quickly give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Tommy Hutchison is a candidate for Cache County Commissioner District 3. He wants your vote on May 17th for Cache County Commissioner. He is a straight shooter and tell it like it is businessman that wants better for Cache County residents. And he says changes are needed for everybody to enjoy and pursue a better life in Cache County. Tommy's a hard worker and wants to work for you as District 3 Cache County Commissioner. Paid for by Hutchinson for Commissioner, Don Frazier Treasurer. Okay? Next hour, we have got the Senior Center going to be on the air for about 5, 6, 7 minutes, and then we're going to go over to Vicky's Country Garden. We're going to talk about how does your garden grow, and then at 9:30, ADF. Quickly, caller, I've got time, about 30 seconds. Go.
Oh, just one statement. The left keeps preaching tolerance. You got to be tolerant. They need to start practicing what they preach.
Oh, golly, do you think so, Doug? Really? I mean, my goodness, it's not a double-edged sword, is it?
No. I mean, just think about it, folks. Just think about it.
You know, and we'll mull it until tomorrow. We'll mull, and then you call and remind me as we mull, okay?
Hey, have a great day.
All right, God bless you. We're going to have this good word, and then Wheels is going to take us up to CBS News. Thanks for your calls. I'll be back in about 7 minutes. Job well done, Wheels. Thank you, and welcome back to hour number 2 of Zeb at the Ranch, brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Don't forget to check out the Go Minis. Yes, the Go Mini storage containers. My goodness, they are very handy and very useful for all of us that have a little bit of extra that doesn't fit in the basement or out in the garage. You call them and find out more about it at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Woo, I got Dennis Babbitt waiting on the line. Stand by, Dennis. I'll be right there. I got to get these commercials in. Remember, Scott Yates is running for Cache County Sheriff as a candidate for that office, and Scott Yates says he will be serving and representing the residents of Cache County. He's a taxpayer and employer, and he wants everyone to be productive and will support those that are. Scott has a different equation for equality. Less crimes, less people in jail equals a more productive community, and he wants your vote for Cache County Sheriff on May 17th. Scott Yates for Cache County Sheriff Committee, Julie Jaime, Treasurer. Also, let's see, what else have I got to get on here? I've got a whole bunch of them this morning to get in, and we want to also say again about Shirley Halford Hubbard. She's running for Cache County Commissioner, District 3. And you know, one of her thoughts is that we need to address the younger generation and get them more involved in the leadership of our county and our country, because they're going to be the leaders of tomorrow. And she said we also need to preserve agriculture and make sure it prospers in each and every community in Cache County. She's got great new ideas and a good knowledge base to be ever diligent in making good decisions for Cache County. So don't forget, if you want fair and equal representation for all of Cache County, vote for Shirley Halford Hubbard for District 3 County Commissioner. Paid for by that committee, Lois Reinhardt, Treasurer. Woo! I can finally say good morning. Dennis Babbitt, how are you, my dear friend?
I am fine. How are you, Zeb?
Dennis is a great volunteer over at the Golden Heritage Senior Center and also on the board of directors. And I have so much respect for this man. What's cooking over there for this week? Any happenings, anything novel that we need to talk about?
Oh, yes. We've got ribs today with baked potato, corn, cranberry, Jell-O, salad, and chocolate cake.
Ooh, Dennis!
Tomorrow we've got Reuben sandwiches, potatoes, fresh fruit, and cookies.
Oh, boy.
Wednesday, fried chicken, potatoes and gravy, veggies and rolls with some Jell-O salad and fruit.
Oh, my goodness.
And a lemon cake.
Ooh.
Thursday, taco salad and the Fiesta Fun. And then for Friday, we've got their hot beef sandwiches, potatoes and gravy, green beans, and fruit dessert.
Oh, my goodness. You know, Dennis, there's always a lot of good things going on, good food, and I'll let you go ahead and kind of give tribute to that kitchen staff. Boy, you got some great Chef Boyardees over there, don't you?
We do. We've got Deb, we've got Connie, and we've got Sonia. And we've also got another one, Brooklyn, that's been helping in here just recently. And, sometimes we have a cook that ends up with an emergency and not able to make it, but we've got those 4 that, with 3 of them there, they can still make things roll.
You know, Dennis, I want to ask you, you are such a gentleman, and you've always got a good opinion on how to express it. But, I get a little upset when people think that just because somebody's getting a little gray or a little bit older, that they've lost their value. And I'll tell you what, I feel as good mentally and sometimes physically, if it wasn't for this doggone hip of mine, that I was just like I was 30 years old. Just because you're older doesn't mean you've diminished in value.
No, we haven't. The older people may not be able to move as fast, but they can still think.
That's right.
And the biggest share of them haven't lost their minds. We've got, we've got a lot of good people. We've got a lot of young people that are starting to come out to our Saturday breakfast. And that's a community breakfast. That's on the 3rd Saturday of each month.
Okay.
We've got an exciting one coming up in June because we're going to be doing a Dutch oven breakfast.
Ooh, that'll be good.
And I don't have the date, the calendar right here in front of me, but that's going to be the 3rd Saturday.
Uh-huh.
Then next week, one of the highlights for next week is what we call our birthday dinner. And that's basically like a turkey dinner. And at the birthday dinner, anybody that has a birthday for the month is able to put in their name in a drawing. They do the same thing with anniversary. If you're having an anniversary for that month, then you can put your name in the drawing.
Okay.
And then they draw out a name, and that person gets a cake for either their birthday, or they draw for the anniversary, and they get a cake for the anniversary.
Oh, my goodness.
Those cakes are from Morrison's Funeral Home.
Okay.
They have contributed the cakes.
Well,
most of the cakes do come from Stokes Market, and they're good to eat.
Absolutely. Dennis, real quick, why don't you tell everybody the hours that you're open over at the Senior Center and the location?
The location is at 2420, and that's on Overland Avenue. Hours are, you can come in. We've got a pool table here. They play pinochle. They play different games. But basically, we're open from about 8:30 in the morning until 2 in the afternoon.
Oh, okay.
And then they've got pinochle games after that. But the dinner starts at 12, and they're usually through serving by about
12:30.
Okay. I want to say how much I appreciate this man taking the time to come on our program this morning, a man that I highly respect, and that's Dennis Babbitt with the Senior Center in Burley. God bless you, Dennis, and thanks for being the pinch hitter for this morning.
Oh, you're welcome, Zeb. You have a good day.
All right, God bless you. Thank you very, very much. Nice people and a very nice man right there talking about the Senior Center and all the activities. Thank you very much. I got to pay some bills here real quick. Do not forget, let's see what happened to my Mother's Day ads. We'll have that in a minute, but first of all, I want to tell you about Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Don't forget, every morning we start the program off with the weather forecast, and the weather is brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. All your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, home decor, whatever you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Really, really nice people. By the way, quickly, I want to say thank you very much to Joel Heward. Oh my goodness, at Hanson Mortuary. What a nice man. What a great family, and what a very pleasant, easy to work with staff at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to write down and remember, 436-5636. They serve you and your family always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. So please, when there's the passing of a loved one, don't forget, very flexible hours to serve you and help you with all the arrangements. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. Please get a hold of them today. Well, it is time for the lovely Miss Vicky. Oh, my goodness sakes, Vicky's Country Garden, and I'm just tickled pink to have her on the program this morning on a beautiful Monday morning. Good morning, Miss Vicky.
Good morning, Zeb. How are we doing this fine, nice morning with no wind and a nice, bright sunshine out there?
Now, let me ask you a question. I am doing great this morning, but I want to see, did you have that east wind yesterday?
Yes, we did.
Now, was it just me being a wuss, or was it doggone kind of chilly to you?
It felt like it was kind of coming off a small snowbank to me, but that was just,
I had a good...
It was a little on the cool side. Would have been a beautiful day had it not had that wind going.
You know, I had a good buddy of mine, and I think he's listening this morning. I was going to have him over to rope, and he called me up, and he said, "You going to rope?" And I said, "No, I'm sitting here with a nylon windbreaker and a vest, and I'm cold."
Well, if you'd have went to roping, you'd have warmed up.
I don't know. Hey, I'm going to ask you some questions this morning. My lovely bride has helped me get some questions for you and some of the letters that have come in. One lady wrote in, and she said, "Dear Mr. Bell, I have not called your program or written in before, nor have I had a garden before. I listened to your show with Vicky's Country Garden, and here's my question. Do I need to worry about garden plants that might poison my grandkids or my pets?"
Well, there are a few things that are toxic, but most garden things are not. Anything you're growing in the garden is going to be safe. Now, if you've got nightshade in your garden, get rid of that, because that can be very toxic if dogs eat it or something to that effect. There are a few plants out there, but it's mostly ornamental type plants that you can put in your yard that can be detrimental to people and the pets. As long as you're not growing castor beans in your garden, those are very poisonous. But those, again, are an ornamental. Very few people grow them. Basic, average garden plants, beans, peas, all that kind of stuff, no, there's not a problem with those.
Now, I have a question to go along with that. When you're talking to people, perhaps, that are a first-time gardener, they haven't done it before, and they really don't know maybe a corn stalk from a bean plant, what do you tell them? How do they distinguish what's good, bad, or ugly?
Well, they basically, if they're going to start growing a garden, they need to think about the things they like to eat and what their top priorities are. And like I've always said, start kind of small the first year and work your way up. It's easier. If you have a good first year, you're going to have a little more encouragement to get a little bit bigger the next year and try new things. But your basics, your like peas and beans and corn, lettuce, those kind of things. Those are all easy to grow and easy to take care of, that type of a thing. So don't, there's a few other things that take a little bit more, time and effort. Tomatoes are easy to grow. So kind of think about what you like to eat, what your favorite thing is, what you buy in the store a lot, and just try a few of them. See how it goes, and then the next year, then branch out and try a few more.
Okay. Another question that came in is, what about now? With the weather, just came in yesterday, as a matter of fact, as an email. With the weather now looking like it's going to remain, hopefully, 60s and maybe the low 70s, maybe a little warmer, can they go ahead and plant the whole shebang, or should they still wait on certain things?
I would still hold a little. Corn, the ground's just not warm enough for sweet corn. I'd give it another week, 10 days to warm up a little bit for sweet corn, and then put it in. But tomatoes and stuff could go in now, and just have protection handy, because there's still snow on that old mountain up there, and we could, the old-timers will tell you, as long as there's snow on the mountain, there's still possible frost out there. Get everything planted, just have some protection, watch the weather, and be ready to, put something around them.
What do you think about kids?
For beans, too. Beans could come up a little too fast.
Okay.
I'd give them another week to 10 days, but pretty much everything else can go in right now.
Okay. Now, this mom wrote, and she said, in order to teach my children a good work ethic, I am going to have them grow each. They got a boy and a girl, and she said, I'm going to try to teach them work ethics, and I'm going to dig up about a 6x8 plot for each one to grow their own garden. What do you think about kids growing gardens?
I think it's an excellent idea. Therefore, they can reap the benefits they enjoy eating. They can say, I grew that as they're eating it, and as other people are eating it. If they enjoy playing in the dirt and enjoy working outside, I think it's a great idea. Some kids, it's just not their thing, and no matter how much you force them, I don't know that you'd ever get them to do it. But if you start kids young enough, I think you can get that built into them to where they know how to grow something for themselves when they get older, in case this world changes and they'd have to.
Well, one thing I'd like to add as an addendum to that, what do you tell the parents? They need to kind of know what needs to be done and how often and when. So the parents they ought to set up some kind of a chart to make sure everything's done accordingly, right?
Well, yeah, and they're going to have to supervise, and they're going to have to help them. They need to show them how to plant their seeds and explain to them the importance of not getting it too deep, not getting it too shallow. Different plants take different care, and they have to work with them and explain that to them, as each day goes on, and enforce the importance of keeping the weeds out, because the weeds take the nutrient away from their plants. So therefore, they got to keep the weeds out so their plants can grow. But I think once they start seeing the plants come up and they start seeing what happens with them, and that most kids get really excited, especially young kids.
Now,
if they're teenagers, you've already lost the battle.
In more ways than just gardening. Okay, I got another question for you. This lady writes in, and she's over in your neck of the woods, as a matter of fact, over in the Rupert Paul area, and she says, I have a whole bunch of leftover seeds from last year. Are they any good, and will they do the purpose of starting my garden for this year?
If they've been kept dry and cool and out of the sunlight, usually you've got at least 1 year. The germination doesn't start to drop too bad on most things in the first year. If they're 2 or 3 years old, you can always do a little germination test to see how they're going to do. Wet some paper towel down real wet, put a few seeds on it. Keep the paper towel wet, put it over a heat vent, keep it warm, and check it about after about 3 days, and just see what's germinating and what isn't. If in a week's time you haven't got anything germinating, then you better buy new seeds.
Okay. And the last question I had sent in, I think we touched on this a week ago, but I'd like you to do it again this week, is what about the pruning of shrubs? How important is that?
It's very important, because if you're trying to keep shrubs down into a into a nice small size, you have to prune on them from the time they're young. If you let them get up to 5 or 6 feet tall and then decide, oh, that's too big, I want it only 2 feet tall, you've lost the battle. You've got a lot of big, heavy stems, and it's not going to work. So you want to prune on most shrubs at least twice a year, spring and fall. That way it keeps a lot of new light growth coming into them, lots of leaves and stuff coming from the bottom up, not just out on the very tips, and you won't get all of that heavy wood, the big heavy woody stems in them. So it's very, very important to trim on them and keep them looking young and nice.
Okay. Now the ball is in your court. What is Miss Vicky's gardening tip for this week?
Well, I don't know how much of a gardening tip, but I'm just going to remind everybody that Mother's Day is around the corner, and if Mom's wanting a flower bed done, or if she's wanting a garden tilled up, this is the week to get it done and get Mom ready for Mother's Day, and don't forget her on Mother's Day.
You know, and what you just said right there, very simple sentence, but oh my goodness, it means so much. My mother passed away about 6 years ago, and every Mother's Day I kind of have a tear in my eye. And boy, kids today, they need to really appreciate what their parents have done for them.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. And it doesn't have to be anything big. Most kids, if they make a little something, or if they just step in and help Mom out in the garden. I mean, if she's out weeding the garden or getting the garden ready, go out and just help her pull some weeds and do some things like that. It means a lot.
Absolutely. Now I know that you're always getting things in, always new material. What is going on over at Miss Vicky's Country Garden?
Well, this week we've got about 4 shipments coming in. We've got a bunch of new perennials coming. We've got some new shrubs coming in, some new trees coming in, quite a few different new perennials, and a few new fancy annuals that we don't grow ourselves. We just got our roses in finally, and so we are ready for spring, summer, and Mother's Day and Father's Day and every other day.
Oh my goodness. And if people have questions about their gardens, or if they have questions about landscaping, all they have to do is give you a call. Why don't you give us the exact location and also the hours that you're open and numbers they can call you?
Okay. We are on the Burley-Paul Highway. The actual address is 185 South, 600 West. But if you're coming from Burley going to Paul, you can't miss us. We're on the west side of the road. Just before you get to West Minico. The greenhouses are right there, can't miss us. And our hours are 9 to 5:30, Monday through Saturday, and noon to 4 on Sundays.
Okay. Now, when are you ever going to drive by old 4B Bankrupt Land and Cattle Company and come up on the porch and share with us a little philosophy?
Well, I'm going to have to do that one of these days, Zeb. I haven't quite... Are you... Is there a problem between 9:30 and midnight at night?
Yeah.
That's about the time I'm getting out of here right now. But when it slows down, I'm going to stop by and we're going to have us just a good old sit down.
I'm looking forward to it, and everybody get on over to Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and the lovely Miss Vicky. God bless you. Thanks for a great program.
You bet. Thanks, Zeb.
All right, take care. I'll tell you what, that lady is just absolutely a encyclopedia of knowledge when it comes to gardening and landscaping. You be sure and stop over or give her a call. Vicky's Country Garden. Oh my, let's see, where am I at right now? I got to quickly tell you about Mother's Day's coming up, and don't forget the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley. Number to call 647-0106. Treat your mom to a goodie basket. You can build your own, or you can select one that they've already done up, or maybe a special Mother's Day mug filled with candy kisses and brownie treats and all kinds of goodies. You're going to love it. She'll love it. From the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main in Burley, 647-0106. And also, happy Mother's Day from Magic Valley Irrigation, 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Number to call, 678-3101. Jeff and the whole crew at Magic Valley Irrigation. Wish all the moms a very happy Mother's Day. And don't forget, farmers, if you need anything in the line of irrigation equipments and all the parts and everything, be sure and give them a call at Magic Valley Irrigation, 678-3101. In just a few moments, we're going to have our Alliance Defending Freedom with Kerry Kupek, so stand by for that. And we're going to be telling you more. But right now, we've got some more people involved in our May 17th primary. May 17th is primary election day, and on behalf of Senator Kelly Anthon, Representative Fred Wood, and the Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, don't forget May 17th on your calendar and get out and vote. This is America, and we should be awful proud of who we are, and be sure and take your picture ID for identification. The polls will be open from 8 to 8, and be a proud American and go vote on May 17th. Paid for by Senator Kelly Anthon, Representative Fred Wood, and Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke. Thank you very much. Also, along with that, I want to remind you, and I'm trying to find it, here we go, Roger Morley is running for re-election for District 3, Jerome County Commissioner. Roger has served as County Commissioner in Jerome for 2 terms, and he wants your vote for another term on May 17th. He's also served 2 terms as Idaho State Senate lobbyist and also as a Jerome County Planning and Zoning Commissioner. He has the experience necessary and needed to make a great county commissioner. He knows what will do the job for you, and that's him. He wants to work for you. Roger Morley, running for re-election for District 3, Jerome County Commissioner, paid for by the Morley for Commissioner Committee, Lorraine Morley, Treasurer. Well, in just a moment, we are going to go with Kerry Kupek, so stand by for that. But before we do, I want to remind you over at Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. My goodness sakes, they've got all the ATVs. I mean, you open that showroom floor, and my goodness, there's just row after row of ATVs. And they've got the Suzukis at 0% financing right now. And all the watercraft, my goodness, fun outside in southern Idaho. All the ATVs, and of course all the accessories, and all the great service for those vehicles at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. It is where the fun is sold. While you're over in that area, don't forget, too, our dear friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Oh, my goodness, they are very accessible and devoted to serving others, and they want to make sure that your future is all taken care of and successful with proper planning on life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. So please write this number down and give them a call today, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. You call them the professionals in the insurance business. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and on Mondays, I'm very, very blessed and honored to have with us the Alliance Defending Freedom and the Communications Director for the ADF, and that's Kerry Kupek. Kerry, good morning. How are you?
Doing well, Deb. Good morning to you.
Boy, it's been a busy time. We're coming into our primary election season in about 2 weeks. But, Kerry, in the last couple of weeks, the national news media, and on my program in particular, the so-called bathroom bill and bathroom issue with transgenders being allowed possibly to go and use any restroom that they want, this has blown up. And many, many people, parents, family members, are absolutely incensed as to what might happen with that kind of a bathroom bill. Would you bring us an update as to what's going on, please?
Yeah, you're totally right. It's blown up, and quite frankly, it's blown my mind that this is where we are as a culture, as a society, as a nation, that we are actually having a conversation and a debate about whether men should be allowed in women's restrooms and locker rooms. It's hard to believe that we are having this conversation, but we are. And where we're at right now, well, as you know, North Carolina, God, there's a lot going on there. So a couple months ago, the city of Charlotte had passed an ordinance that would have allowed men and women's locker rooms and restrooms and among other things. this is a complete overreach of their authority. North Carolina follows something called the Dillon's Rule. It's a lawyer's term. If you study for the bar exam, you know it. You have to memorize it. It basically, states that follow this kind of rule, basically the towns and cities, counties, municipalities, they can only enact certain rules and laws as delegated to them, the authority to do so by the state legislature. So North Carolina follows that rule. Basically what this means is for something like what we're looking at right now with these bathroom ordinances and things involving lawsuits regarding employment, the state legislature has to actually designate the authority to those councils to make those laws themselves. So when Charlotte did this, it was a complete overreach of their authority. So the North Carolina legislature called together a special session and said, look, you can't make a law like this. And they repealed it. They put in its place something called HB2, which said that public facilities would remain, their restrooms and locker rooms, those would remain open to biological sex that corresponds to your birth certificate. And small businesses were free to do what they wanted to do. So in other words, if you own a small business and you want to open your locker room to either gender, you can do that. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. And then they also said, look, in the future, going forward, we want to have uniform laws across the state, and we don't want to have patchwork laws that will come up. If you're in Charlotte, it's one way. If you're in Raleigh, it's another way. So basically, they just said, look, this is a level playing field. This is our authority. If we're going to make these laws these kinds of laws, we're going to have to do it ourselves, our authority. And that's all that was. Well, next thing you know, as you've been watching, we've all been watching on the national media, you have big corporations either threatening to pull out of North Carolina or pulling out and engaging in all kinds of, quite frankly, absurd rhetoric against the good people and small businesses of North Carolina.
Carrie, I'm going to take some extra time here this morning to visit with you on this because I'm totally confused as to why major corporations would want to side with a minuscule part of our population and absolutely alienate families and moral values. You got to help me on that because I just do not understand.
Yeah, I hear you. And it's bad for business. I was on MSNBC Power Lunch, I think it was last week, and I was debating this exact topic with the Raleigh Chamber of Commerce president. And I said, look, the big businesses, these big corporations that are currently threatening and pulling out North Carolina, they're bullies. And they're bullies for a number of reasons. For starters, any reputable financial news outlet or academic study will tell you what? That less restriction is good for business. That when small business owners can make their own decisions for their businesses, that's where economies thrive, that's where businesses flourish. And North Carolina has had one of the top economies in the country for years. And so this kind of law that says, look, if you're a small business owner and you want to do what you want to do with your locker rooms and restrooms, you're free to do so, but you have that freedom to choose either way. That's good for business, for starters. But what's bad for business are big corporations bullying the small businesses and the good people of North Carolina, especially when they're engaged, this is the startling or not so startling hypocrisy and irony of it all, when they're engaged in business dealings with countries that currently execute people who identify as LGBT. These big corporations are currently doing business, say with a country like Saudi Arabia that doesn't even allow women the legal right to drive a car. So these big corporations really need to take a good, hard look at themselves in the mirror before they start bullying North Carolina. And in regards to a very common sense law that says, look, we want to ensure the privacy and safety of men, women, and kids in this state. We think this is a disaster if we open up locker rooms and restrooms to those of the opposite biological sex. And for obvious reasons, right? Anybody can take this law, take a law that says, you can go into a restroom or locker, depending on how you feel, and abuse that and take advantage of it. And this opens the floodgates for abuse and those who want to take advantage and engage in predatory activities against, say, the women and children that are in there. And what's upsetting to me especially, well, as a woman, I think it's really upsetting, as you can imagine. But I also feel very badly, say, for a small business owner that would have been forced under that Charlotte ordinance to open up their locker room or restroom to, the opposite biological gender. And, God forbid something happened in that locker room or restroom under their watch. They would be on the hook. It's just terrible.
Kelly, I'd like you to expand on a couple of things. First of all, the National Basketball Association is threatening that if this law is not enforced, where transgenders can go anywhere they want to, they're threatening some of their locations as far as all-star games, etc. The NCAA is also threatening schools, and the NCAA is also threatening as far as location for some of the bowl games. My goodness, what about us? What about the 90+% of us that are family-oriented with family morals and values? What about the rest of us?
Absolutely. And again, the common sense component. If you talk to almost any woman, they will tell you that the idea of a male stranger walking into the locker room with them as they're there is frightening. Of course it is. There shouldn't even be a question. And what's interesting is, you saw Target, they've now changed their bathroom policy, and there have been videos popping up online of men who are wearing cameras and say, hey, I don't really feel that comfortable using the men's restroom. Can I go into the women's restroom just because I feel that way? And the manager has said to them on these videos, yes, you're free to do so, which is why there's that current petition out there that's generated now over 1 million signatures of people who are boycotting Target because they're concerned. They're concerned about their safety and their privacy and their dignity. And Target stocks dropped a bit in response to this. And, people are upset, and they should be. This is not a religious thing. This is a privacy and safety issue. It's common sense.
I feel a real sorry for the transgender people. I have always said that, I just absolutely wish they could have gotten some psychiatric care and therapy for their problems, but their social ills or maladjustment should not be imposed on the bulk of society for the degradation and also the lack of welfare for our society. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, like you said, we should always have compassion for those who are working through very sensitive issues pertaining to their sexuality. That's not even a question. But that's not what this is about. The fact that we would turn upside on its head just the norms of society that women and men want to have basic privacy and basic safety when they're undressing and engaged in intimate activities in the restroom, in the locker room. Because of, like you said, some people say who are working through some sensitive issues, well, of course you shouldn't do that. That's bad law. That's bad policy. You don't enact policy based on those kinds of facts. You just don't. And that Charlotte ordinance that originally was passed that would have allowed men into women's locker rooms and restrooms, another part of that ordinance, which was deeply concerning to me, was it would have not just mandated that women, be allowed to enter men's restrooms and locker rooms and vice versa. It would have punished small business owners. It would have penalized them. They would have faced possible jail time. Can you imagine? So we're talking about, say, a Lucille Roberts, a women's gym. If that Lucille Roberts in Charlotte did not allow men to use their gym facilities and use their showers and locker rooms, they could have been punished with financial penalties. And these are the stories that Americans need to hear. This is not right. It's not fair. And it just defies common sense. It really is. It's troubling. And another thing that's come up in this conversation, this debate, if you look at statistics of people who have been sexually abused under the age of 18, it's staggering. I wasn't even fully aware of how widespread and rampant it is until I saw recent statistics on this. And that's horrific. But also according to these studies, that the mere sight, so if, say, a woman has been sexually abused, and she's in a locker room, the mere sight of a male stranger entering that room can trigger all kinds of the trauma, PTSD. It's awful. And the question that's come up often is enforceability. Well, what are you going to do? Are you going to put someone out there who checks to see if someone's really a man or really a woman outside of a restroom? Of course not. Enforceability is what it's always been. you file a complaint. So, for instance, right now, if I'm in a women's locker room or a women's restroom and a man enters, I can immediately ask that gentleman to leave, or I could find the security of the store and say, excuse me, there's a man in the restroom and locker room and I feel unsafe. That's what you normally do, what we've done for how many years. But now, with these kinds of laws that are being aggressively pushed upon the people of America who don't want them, how do you file the complaint until something actually happens to you? That's what's going to happen, and that is a problem.
Let me ask you this question, and I need to have this for my own education. I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that many, many universities and college complexes have a late entry to whether it's a key or a card or whatever into various gym facilities for people to work out late at night, and they have for the women's facilities and for the men. If this thing goes and is extorted to the point where they're trying to make it to where anybody can use any facility at any time, my goodness, the security of these college complexes late at night for women, they want to go in swimming, they want to go play basketball, they want to work out in the weight room, they want to run, whatever, they are possibly subject to a sexual predator just using that key to prey upon them in an environment to where they feel they're safe. Do you agree with me or not?
Absolutely. Yes, I do agree. I think you're right. And that's exactly the problem. And that's a great example of one of many ways these laws, ordinances will be a disaster.
You know, Carrie, you said earlier it's not just the Christian values, but you know what? It really is a denouncing of our Christian and moral values in this country. I believe that are being threatened because they're being told, many schools are being told, if you don't accept the LGBT way, you're going to possibly lose your association with certain athletic conferences, etc. Basically, it's a blackmail job that's going on all across this country. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, the reality is tolerance is a two-way street. And to your point, what's being told, especially to our young people and in schools, is that you don't just have to tolerate, say, those people who have a lifestyle with which you disagree or you have a different one. You have to celebrate it. And if you don't celebrate it, you will be punished. And not only that, your feelings don't matter. And that is what troubles me the most out of this entire debate surrounding these issues. We hear so much about the feelings, say, of those who are working through their sexuality issues. But the feelings of everybody else, never considered, never discussed. Not even up for conversation. And that really upsets me because the feelings of everyone here should matter. The feelings of all the other children at these schools should matter. The feelings of the women in these locker rooms should matter. And they do matter. And there is currently no balance in this debate, and there needs to be.
Carrie,
is right any other way.
Is there going to be enough of a backlash, if you will, in this country, whether it's Mississippi or North Carolina, and I understand now Texas, but what about other states? What about other areas? What about other regions? Are they prepared for the onslaught of what this bill would do to them?
I think everyone is seeing what's coming down the pike. Well, it's already here. But again, the bullying that takes place against those who raise very reasonable safety and privacy concerns, those voices are perpetually stifled, suffocated, told they don't matter. The bullying is unbelievable. And the bullying needs to stop. And we need to start, and Americans need to start standing up and knowing that they are fully within their freedom and within their rights to say, hey, look, I have a problem with this. As a woman, I have a problem with this. As a parent, I have a problem with this. As a man, I have a problem with this. This is common sense. And my voice matters, too. Absolutely.
We have a caller with a quick question. Caller, I'm way over time, so please, short and sweet. Go ahead, please.
Yes, there was a time, and I've said this before on this program, so I'm repeating myself here, but there was a time when children were allowed to be children. This is in the faces of everybody, including our children. The children shouldn't have to be deciding whether or not they're something other than what God made them. They need to be left to be innocent. Can they leave us alone just to let our children be and grow up, and then maybe that when they're 18, 20, to make a decision on their own? This is so unfair. It's a travesty. I'll hang up.
I really appreciate his remarks. Carrie, go ahead and respond to that, please.
I do too, and I think his point is an excellent one. In our society, children are now being expected to be little adults, and they're being burdened with very weighty adult issues, and they're being bullied by very active political lobbying organizations that are, quite frankly, using these kids to exploit and push their agenda. Where else could they push an agenda but in a school where you have all these innocent children who maybe do feel uncomfortable going to the restroom, using a locker room with someone of the opposite biological gender? But they're being told that their feelings don't matter. They're being bullied into silence. And like that gentleman just said, the innocence that's being taken away from that in that regard, and the really unfair burden that's put on these children it's really a disgrace.
Carrie, you always do a great job on the program, and please know I'd like to have you come back and we'll discuss this further. Carrie Kupek, of course, the Legal Communications Director for the Alliance Defending Freedom, thank you very much for coming on the show. I held you a little bit longer this morning on the air, but I do appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Excellent lady and extremely well-versed in this so-called bathroom bill, which is, I think, totally denigrating the morals of our society and our families. And believe me, I'm not going to back off on this. I'm not going to back off on this story. I want to tell you that we've had some threats here at Zebeth Ranch in regards to this story, to leave it alone, don't do any more on it, that type of thing, or else. I'm not about to be threatened. I'm not about to be cowed into not covering various stories. And I got to hold my temper down here right now. But I get really, really emotional and, quite frankly, very teed off when someone threatens me not to comment on a certain story or talk about certain issues that are in the news. Don't you dare. This is an opinion talk show, and we try to talk about any and all stories. I do not care if it affects somebody or their emotional well-being on a local basis, as long as we're telling the truth and being open and forthright with the public about our opinions. But don't you ever elevate, or I should say de-escalate yourself and threaten me. That's not going to work. If I ever put my tail between my legs and don't give an honest appraisal of the story, that's the day that I will pull the plug on this program and walk away. But for those threats, don't ever let that happen again. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I've got to get the weather on here. I know Wheels is over wondering, what are you doing over there? Well, the weather's brought to you by our friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. With their home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Caller, I'll be there in just a moment. Stay with us. Here's Gina with the weather.
Not too shabby as we kick off the very first work week in May, but by the end of the week, could see some rain showers in the forecast. For today, sunny skies, high of 69. Tonight, we're expecting a low of 40. Tomorrow, sunny skies and 74 with an overnight low of 43. By Wednesday, we're going to see those clouds rolling in. Partly cloudy and 77 for Wednesday, 76 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, looks like rain showers could be in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s to low 70s. That's your weather for Zebeth.
I appreciate it, Gina. Brought to everybody by Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Call 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Caller, go ahead quickly. You're on the air.
Yes, Ev, I'm calling back quickly. I wanted to make a quick point. Did you know that science can prove now that at the point of conception of a baby, a fetus, that there is a spark of light that it creates at that point, the very point when that is creating life. And the light, whether or not it's the light of Christ, the light of life, but it's, you see, when we ignore our Creator and we mistreat the innocent children, you say to yourself, you just want to scream bloody murder. And you see, justice, you see, we all want justice. Well, some of these people that deserve the kind of justice they deserve, and you see, well, they're never getting caught. They get away with it. Whether or not you're aborting babies or lying to the public, it doesn't matter. And you see, when do the people, good, hardworking people, get some justice?
Absolutely.
I don't know, Zeb, but ignoring God with that kind of evidence, you run your own risk.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this, and I've said it before on my program, and I'll say it again right now. I had some people say, well, I don't believe in God. Well, then in that case, I pity you. Randy, thank you so much for your call.
You bet, Mike.
Always, thank you. Don't forget, Jerome County Sheriff Doug McFall wants your vote on May 17th for re-election as Jerome County Sheriff. He has been the Jerome County Sheriff since 2009 and wants your vote for a third term. 39 years in law enforcement, 24 as an Idaho State Trooper, and was very, very instrumental in getting the new jail facility built in Jerome County. Experience, knowledge, and great ethics, and a proven track record of achievement with a love for the job. Jerome County Sheriff Doug McFall wanting your vote on May 17th for re-election, paid for by the McFall for Jerome County Sheriff Committee, Cinda Morgan, Treasurer. Caller, you're on the air. Quickly, go ahead.
Good morning, Zeph. I just wanted to say I love you. I love what you stand for. You continue to do what you do. There's more of us need to step up and grab our behinds and stop being so politically correct and start standing up for what is right.
That means a lot to me this morning. Thank you. We've been under a little bit of duress here lately with some of the threats behind the scenes, but I'm not going to cater to them or be a wimp. Thank you very much.
You bet. I'm behind you, Zeph.
I appreciate it. Thank you very, very much. God bless. And I'm serious about that. I mean that. I appreciate those calls. We're going to take a little break in just a moment, but I want to give you a little heads up of what's coming up next hour. We're going to have Randy Barrett on the program with us, and he's got a brand new book called, I'm trying to find it, A Republican Constitution. And he's going to be talking about how certain people on the left want to change the Constitution, etc. And then at 10:32 this morning, we're going to have the Cache Regional Medical Center Administrator Rod Barton on the program with us, talking about the problem with the insurance and the hospital. And it's going to be very interesting, and your calls will be welcome. Right now, we're going to have the playing of This Good Word, and then my dear friend Wheels is going to take us up to CBS News. I hope you're having a great day. Stay tuned. Oh my, here we go, hour number 3. Another busy hour number 3. My goodness, we've got a lot of things to take care of this morning. Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them 734-6969. Wheels will have This Good Word, and I'll be right back.
With over 40 years of dedicated community service, Roy Prescott brings experience to real issues facing Jerome County today. Roy Prescott, the Jerome County Commissioner. Responsible leadership for a better Jerome County.
And thank you very much. And right now we also want to remind you about Cliff Katona running for Twin Falls County Sheriff, and he wants your vote on May 17th. A member of the Idaho State Police Association, 28 years of distinguished law enforcement for the state of Idaho. He was an Idaho State policeman for 19 of those years, and he wants the Sheriff's Department to grow with Magic Valley, and he wants to be a visible sheriff in the community addressing your concerns. Cliff Katona for Twin Falls County County Sheriff, paid for by the Katona 4 Twin Falls County Sheriff Committee, Jim Woolley, Chairman. By the way, don't forget on Tuesdays tomorrow at 10:06, we're going to have Dr. History on the air, and that, of course, is brought to you by Minnecasia Sales at 1321 East Main Street in Burley for all your lumber, all your windows, all your doors, everything right there with Zach and the crew at Minnecasia Sales. Call them 878-2091, sponsoring Dr. History on Tuesdays at 10:06. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and with us for this interview, we have a gentleman by the name of Randy Barrett, Georgetown law professor. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Sir, I was not able to get him on. Would you be able to get a hold of him or something, or have the end?
What happened? I gave you two numbers, did I not?
You did, and I left a voicemail for the second number, but the first number... oh, never mind. Hold on.
Okay, never mind. He says, well, while we're doing a commercial, we will get back with him momentarily. Live radio, I love it. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric and, of course, Lennox Home Comfort Systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget, call Ramsey's at 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, saving you money. Wheels, do we have him?
Yes, sir.
It's been a fun day. Good morning. Thank you very much. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'll reintroduce our guest, author of our Republican Constitution, Georgetown law professor, Randy Barnett. How are you, Randy? Good morning.
I'm doing great. Sorry for the phone problem.
Not a problem at all. We got you on the air. That's all that matters. Give us a little background of this book that you have just written called Our Republican Constitution. What's the background of this book, and why did you write it?
Well, I wrote it because I was one of the lawyers that challenged the Obamacare law, and we basically convinced the court that the individual insurance mandate was unconstitutional. We got 5 votes for that. And then Chief Justice Roberts turned around and said that he owed deference to Congress, the majoritarian branch in Congress, and because he owed this deference, he was going to reinterpret the law so that it was no longer a mandate to buy insurance, and he could uphold it as constitutional as a tax. So it was this idea that we could win on the law, we could get the Constitution right, the court would agree with us, and yet because he viewed his role as a judge as deferential, we lost the case. And I decided I needed to write a book, not about the meaning of the Constitution, that's what my last book was about, but about what the appropriate role of judges is in a constitutional republic as opposed to a democracy, because what we have is a republic.
You know, Randy, let me ask you this. Do you see the Supreme Court changing its persona, changing its personality, changing the way that it's structured in the thought process to where there's more activism involved instead of just discerning what is legal and what is not?
Not really. I mean, this charge of activism, as I explain in my book, the charge of activism goes back to the 1940s. And earlier than that, actually into the 1920s and 30s. So whenever the court strikes down a law, the people who like the law complain that the judges are acting badly. But my book, Our Republican Constitution, is about how in a republic, under a Republican Constitution, judges are servants of the people, and their job is to hold Congress to its powers and keep the president within his powers. If they fall down on the job and they don't invalidate laws or executive actions, or even state laws under the 14th Amendment that violate the Constitution, the whole constitutional structure goes haywire. And I explain how that's happened over a very long period of time.
Randy, in your book, and I'm not even quite sure how to phrase this question, but I would say, in my own humble opinion, that the value of the wording of our Constitution and everything that was in it at its fomentation until now, there's people that want to change it. There are people that want to have constitutional conventions. There are people that want to make additions and corrections. There are people that want to strike certain new meanings, like to the Second Amendment. Are we really going to see our Constitution remain intact, or do the powers that be, are they going to come in and totally disassemble it?
Well, if judicial activism, it means anything, and I don't use the term because it doesn't tell you much, but if it means anything, it means living constitutionalism that avoids or changes the meaning of the text because the court and Congress and the president don't like the meaning of the text. And this has been going on for a very long time. It's been going on since Woodrow Wilson argued for a living Constitution because our Republican Constitution was getting in the way of his progressive agenda. Eventually, he had enough justices on the court to agree with that. So we need to get our text back. We need justices who are committed to the written Constitution. But I actually also support the Article 5 amendment process because, first of all, you might need constitutional amendments to get rid of bad Supreme Court precedents. And secondly, there are ways in which the Constitution can be strengthened so that it can't be defeated as easily by judges and by Congress and by the President as it has been in the past.
Let me ask you this question. The first three words of our Constitution, we the people. I'd like you to give me your opinion of what that means and how we've strayed away from it.
Really? Well, that's exactly what the core of this book is about. So thanks for asking me that question. You can view we the people, if you view we the people as a group, and then you say we the people must govern, and the government must be according to the will of we the people, and we've heard a lot about that in recent days. And you have you need a democratic constitution so that the will of the people can be expressed. But our Constitution is a Republican Constitution that views we the people as individuals. And each individual person has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And then the Declaration tells us that it is to secure these rights that governments, these individual rights, that governments are instituted among men. And we then need a Republican Constitution to put limits on power so as to protect the individual rights of we the people, each and every one of us, and judges have a role to play in enforcing that Republican Constitution.
I want to say this, and this is purely my own opinion, and feel free to correct me with your expertise if I'm wrong. But when I look at gun control issues, when I look at Obamacare, and I look at the government's involvement in education, like with Common Core, etc., quite frankly, I think they're sticking their foot in a puddle of water that it doesn't belong. And I think now with the Obama administration, they've taken a free rein and license to do what they want, even opposed to what the Constitution says they can do. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's absolutely right. And I have 2 chapters in the book about the important role that federalism plays in our Republican Constitution as a way of protecting the individual rights of we the people. And it does so by creating 50 state solutions to economic and social problems so that individual citizens can vote with their feet and go to the states that have adopted solutions that fit their needs. When you try to do everything at the national level, which is what the progressives and now pretty much everybody wants us to do, you create a one-size-fits-all solution to economic and social problems at the national level, and then everybody has to fight each other to the death, because if they don't win, they lose and have to live under their opponents' social and economic policies or leave the country. And that just raises the stakes and creates this war of all against all that has led to the gridlock that we've experienced today.
You know, there are many people on the left, and quite frankly, some uneducated people on the right that say, oh, the Constitution, it's a living document. It's got to change with the times. It's got to be upgraded. It's got to be modernized. I put my foot down and I say, absolutely not. What are your thoughts?
Well, Ed Meese, Ronald Reagan's Attorney General, who's a great man and a friend of mine, once said to me that the only living Constitution is a Constitution that follows. And if you don't follow the Constitution, then that makes it a dead Constitution. So in a way, they want to change the Constitution. That's what they call living Constitution, is they want to change it to what they like. But we want to follow it, and that way we can keep the Constitution alive. And there are parts of it that are just dead because the courts have ignored it and Congress has overridden it. And we need to revive our Constitution. We need to give it life again.
Okay, now, therein lies the problem, and I'm sure you address this in the book, but how? I mean, that's a simple, naive question, but how? When you have a liberal left machine in this country that's trying to take and establish everything their way and do away with our past thinking, our past morals, etc., how, Randy, how do we go back to the basics?
Well, I'm going to give you a simple answer. It's going to be too simple for some of your audience, I think, and that is we need a Republican Party. The Democratic Party is not going to adhere to the Republican Constitution as I described, Steve. I wish they would, but they're not. We need a Republican Party that will. They don't always do that. In fact, they rarely do it. And the way we get that to happen is we need a Republican presidential candidate who believes in our Republican Constitution, and at the moment, on the Republican side, there really is only one candidate who understands the Republican nature of our Constitution, or even cares about our Constitution at all, and I'm afraid that candidate is Ted Cruz and not Donald Trump.
You say you're afraid. Why are you afraid to speak out and say your opinion? I'm not afraid on this show. I mean, if you think Ted Cruz is the man, go ahead and be very boastful about it.
Well, yeah, I actually questioned my own wording when I said it that way. What I mean is I don't like getting political. I rarely get political when I talk about the Constitution. And I know that there's a lot of your listeners who like Donald Trump for a lot of reasons. And so that's the reason I'm afraid. I'm afraid I'm offending some of your listeners. But let me just tell you, if we don't get a president who understands the Constitution and is prepared to select justices who share that vision, then we will have lost our Republican Constitution for a generation now that Justice Scalia has died and left a vacancy on the court.
Let's talk a little bit about that vacancy. Now, I was reading some of the bio information on you, Randy, and I understand that Merrick Garland was a classmate of yours, and he is the proposed Obama nominee for that seat. What are your thoughts about that man?
Well, he was not only a classmate, he was in my section, which means I took all my first-year courses with him, and he was one of the stars of the section. He's super smart, he's a great lawyer, and he's a decent human being. And yet, he's not qualified because one of the qualifications for it to be a justice is that they believe in following the text of the Constitution, and I believe it's our Republican Constitution they must follow, and he would be very predictably adhering to the Democratic Constitution. And your judicial philosophy, your track record on whether you're prepared to enforce the limits on federal power is part of the qualifications of being a Supreme Court justice. And so for that reason, I would not support him or any other person that the president would happen to choose.
Now, what about his proposed nomination? Do you think that Obama just used Merrick Garland as kind of a depth charge or a false hope just to kind of get a test of the water and then throw somebody else? What are your thoughts on this?
Well, I think he picked somebody that Republicans in the past, first of all, he's already been confirmed to the Court of Appeals, and Republicans in the past have had very nice things to say about him, and for good reason, because he's a decent man. And a smart guy, but I think that he picked somebody that they would have a hard time opposing, and I think we're all quite surprised and pleasantly surprised that Mitch McConnell, because without his leadership this would not have happened, Mitch McConnell got the Republicans all on board to put off the decision on any Supreme Court nominee until after the people had a chance to express themselves in the November election. And as much as we criticize Majority Leader McConnell, I think we need to praise him when he's doing the right thing, and he took the leadership role and is doing the right thing here.
All right, now, I want to also ask you about the Supreme Court and its personalities right now. We may see more than one seat that's up for grabs, and we may see a couple or three go by the wayside, and this entire Supreme Court could take on a very liberal nature. What are your thoughts?
Well, it will do so if only one justice replaces Justice Scalia will be enough. It's already has that complexion because we can't count on 5 justices who believe in the Republican Constitution. The Obamacare case proves that. You can't count on the Republican side of that court, the nominees who were put on the bench by Republican presidents, because many of them are committed to judicial restraint and therefore to deferring to the will of the Democratic Congress, the Democratic majority in Congress. So if we have more vacancies, then it's going to be even worse. And it will take a generation or 2 generations, given the length of time people are on the court, to reclaim our Republican Constitution. So this election is crucial, and the primaries that we are currently in are doubly crucial.
Randy, your book, and I haven't had a chance to read it. I can't wait to get it. But number one, why did you write the book, and what do you hope to achieve when people close the cover after they've read the last page? What do you want people to take with them?
Well, this was a book that was it was not written for academics like my other book. It was written for a general audience. It tells a lot of stories, but my primary audience are Republicans, people more or less on the right, who have been, and to explain to them why the Obamacare case got lost, what Republican presidents have been doing wrong in choosing justices for the Supreme Court and what they need to look for in the future. And that's what I think people will take away. If nothing else, they will take away that we live in a republic and not a democracy. And that means there's a lot of hoops you have to jump through before a law becomes is accepted as law. And one of those hoops is a scrutiny by judges who are going to see whether the Congress or the states have exceeded their powers under our Republican Constitution.
You know, I often think that we are, to use this analogy, as a society, the American public, as their boot heels on the edge of the Grand Canyon and the leftists are trying to push us over. Can we reverse this thing, or have we gone too far?
I do get asked that question a lot. I'm the kind of guy that sees the glass as half full and not half empty. And I also think that whether or not we can, and I do think we can, honestly, I do think we can, but whether or not we can, we owe it to future generations to keep the flame of liberty alive, even if we're losing. That is, we owe it to the future because things are never going to be that bleak. We owe the chance for liberty to survive and to prosper always exists in the future, but it won't exist unless we keep the flames of liberty alive, even in the face of opposition that can be very, very substantial. And it also means keeping our Constitution alive, even in the face of those who would change it or who would reject it because it's not democratic the way they like it to be.
Georgetown law professor Randy Barnett, with his book called Our Republican Constitution, Securing the Liberty and Sovereignty of the People. Randy, where can the book be purchased?
Well, the easiest way to purchase it is on Amazon.com. It costs $18.10 in hardcover. There's a $13 Kindle edition, and there's even audio available for the book. And so I encourage people to go to Amazon and check it out.
Well, I tell you what, I'm going to get a copy of the book. I'm going to read it. I'm going to call you for another repeat on the program. Thank you, sir, for being on the show this morning.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me anytime.
Thank you very much. Very interesting individual that knows all about the ins and outs of the Supreme Court, Georgetown law professor Randy Barnett, and his new book, Our Republican Constitution, Securing the Liberty and Sovereignty of the People. I am going to get a copy of that book, and I'll give it a review, and then we'll have him back on the program. Want to remind you that on Thursdays we have a very special segment called Cassia County School Days, and I thank both businesses that are involved in sponsoring that segment. Number one, A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and they've got all the clothing over there for spring and summer. They got all the dress-up dresses for church and special occasions, and they've got all the baby outfits, all the clothing, the baptism dresses. They've got everything over there, including every Tuesday is a special grandparents discount day. Where at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. And along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley, the Ambulatory Surgery Center and all the doctors who serve you there take Regents Blue Shield insurance, and you can take care of your outpatient surgeries, like, of course, colonoscopies, eye and ear surgeries, foot surgeries, and many, many more. Save money. Give them a call today. Call them and find out. 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center, along with the Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County on Thursdays at 10:10. Don't miss that. Let's see, I had a couple of public service announcements I need to get in here real quick, and they are Minidoka County Republicans Meet the Candidate Night is going to be this Thursday, May 5th at the Wilson Theater. The meet and greet starts at 6 p.m. and the forum starts at 7. And thank you, Elaine, for sending me that information. And the Cassia County Forum for the Republican ticket is going to be at the Burley High School Theater on, that ended last Thursday. I got old news here. We're in May right now, Zeb. That's an old public service announcement. I didn't check that before. I hit it last week, so I'm still okay. But anyway, the Minidoka County Republican Meet the Candidate night will be this week, Thursday, May 5th, at the Wilson Theater. Don't forget that. We have some more politicos to announce right now, and we'll take care of some of that as soon as I get things changed. We got time for one more quick phone call if you'd like to give me a jingle on the landline. But until then, I'd like to remind you that Scott Yates wants your vote to be the Cassia County Sheriff candidate May 17th. So be sure and go to the polls. And remember, Scott Yates serving and representing the residents of Cassia County. And he wants to urge everybody to remember that Cassia County is exceptional with the great people that live in this community, and they should set higher goals, and Cassia County is a great place to be a county sheriff. He wants your vote for Cassia County Sheriff May 17th. Don't forget Scott Yates for Cassia County Sheriff, paid for by the Yates for Cassia County Sheriff Committee, Treasurer Julie Jaime. And as we go along, I also want to remind you about a gentleman that's running for Cassia County Commissioner. Got to turn the page over here, and we're going to... My organizational skills on all these political announcements has left me. I've got like 13 pages here. Don't forget Tim Darrington running for Cassia County Commissioner for District 3, a lifelong resident and farmer and rancher. And he has got the desire to make an impact for everybody in serving Cassia County. He wants to protect our natural resources, our land, air, and water. Also wants to provide good roads, safe environment, and a better quality of life. He encourages job opportunities, new industry, and smart growth, and he wants your vote on May 17th. Tim Darrington for Cassia County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by Darrington for Commissioner, Gail Erickson, Treasurer. Coming up next hour, it's going to be really interesting. We're fortunate to have with us the Cassia Regional Medical Center Administrator, Rod Barton, is going to be on our program this next hour. Don't forget that. And earlier this morning, I mentioned to you about sending a birthday card up to Russell Smith, our hero, at the Idaho State Veterans Home, and the address 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive in Pocatello, and the zip code 83201, or you may call Russell, hopefully, at 208-235-7838. It's his birthday coming up on Friday. He's a dear friend of this program, a dear friend of the area, a true hero, 3 times Purple Heart recipient. Please send those birthday cards up to Russell Smith in Pocatello. If you didn't get the address, call me after the show and I'll make sure you get it. Right now, let's send it back over to our main studios at K-Bar, and I'll be back with my next guest in 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Oh, thank you very much, and we've got to hurry right into some of our good words and then our guest waiting on the line. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Get a hold of Ramsey Heating and Electric today, along with Lennox, saving you money. Want to remind you, too, Jeff McEwen running for Minidoka County Sheriff. He promises to serve and protect the residents of Minidoka County by creating an agency that demands excellence. And he says that Minidoka County should look at what's working and what is not and change accordingly. And he said it's time to address what our county needs, not what a few think it needs. He wants your vote on May 17th. Jeff McEwen running for Minidoka County Sheriff, paid for by the Jeff McEwen for Minidoka County Sheriff Committee, Anna McEwen, Treasurer. Also, we wanted to mention real quick that Clive Strong is running for Idaho Supreme Court Justice. He has the support of many legislators, including former Representative Bert Stevenson. Bert, of course, on the Water Board, and Clive Strong knows the issues that are important to Idaho and its future, including water and timber and mining and grazing, and he has the necessary necessary experience to make good decisions for us and the state of Idaho. 33 years in the Attorney General's office and has argued cases before the U.S. Supreme Court and the Idaho Supreme Court. Don't forget on May 17th, vote for Clive Strong for Idaho Supreme Court Justice, paid for by former State Representative Bert Stevenson. Strong for Idaho Supreme Court. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm very happy to have with us this morning the administrator of Cassia Regional Medical Center, a very nice gentleman that consented to come on the program this morning and discuss a problem with insurance coverage. Good morning, Rod Barton. How are you?
I'm good, Zeb. How are you?
Well, during political primary season, I'm like a dog chasing its tail. That's how busy we are.
That's a good problem to have in some ways.
It is, Rod, and I really appreciate your coming on the air this morning, and I'm not going to sum up or generalize what the problem is or was. I'm going to let you explain it to the audience. I don't think I'm going to do it justice. What happened between Regents Blue Shield and Cassia Regional?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for the opportunity, by the way. You know, we've had an agreement with Regents Blue Shield for some 20 years, and we're somewhat surprised when we were notified several months ago that they intended to terminate Cassia Regional from their provider network. There was a proposal that they made that would involve payments that they would make to the hospital for staying in the provider network. The negotiations occurred over the last several weeks and several months, and we simply could not come to an agreement. It is not my job to bash Blue Shield by any means. Simply what we thought was fair and reasonable was not achievable, and so we've reached an impasse where we can't come to an agreement, and accordingly we have been terminated from their provider agreement. Or the provider network, I should say.
Rod, now what about, is your situation at Cassia Regional, is it any different than what may be happening at other hospitals or other areas, or are you the only one that has been pinpointed for this?
Well, I haven't surveyed other hospitals. I've read the same news reports that you have, that Cassia Regional is the only one that's no longer in the network. We have heard that there have been other hospitals who've had similar discussions with Regents Blue Shield, and I understand that there was a hospital in eastern Idaho that was, for a time, also not included in the network, but I understand they're back in the network. So I don't think we were singled out necessarily. I guess our response to Blue Shield was not what they were looking for, and hence they took action to end the contractual arrangement that we've had.
Rod, is it, and I'm going to be very simple on this program and blunt because that's the only way I know how to be, is it a contractual agreement over money, on reimbursements? Is it something to do with they wanted more, you wanted to keep the cost down? What really is the problem?
Well, to put it bluntly, as you said, it does come down to dollars and cents. We have a standard for what we think we ought to be paid for the services that we provide, and what we expected as fair payment for our services was obviously higher than what Regents Blue Shield was willing to pay. It came down to that at the end.
Now, how many people do you estimate are going to be affected by this, and what will be the effect to the patients themselves?
Well, again, from the news reports, I understand that Regents Blue Shield has some 4,000 enrollees or members in the mini Cassia area. We obviously don't see all of those as patients. Many of these members are, frankly, young and healthy people who don't require health care services. Therefore, it doesn't represent a huge amount of business for the hospital. Having said that, we are dismayed that we would lose any patients, that any patients would need to go somewhere else. I will clarify that we continue to see any patient who comes to our door for services. Mm-hmm. The dilemma here is that Regents Blue Shield does no longer consider us an in-network provider, and therefore the co-pays and deductibles I understand, would be higher if you came to Cassia Regional than they would be if you went to another facility.
You know, Rod, in my career, I've had to sit down, whether it's this job or whether it's the two other duties that I have outside the radio business, I've had to sit down and negotiate with different companies, different CEOs, and other entities. Is this thing beyond reproach to the point where there won't be any other negotiations, or are you at an impasse that maybe needs nudging from both sides?
Well, I would never, we've reached an impasse in terms of we could not agree to a number as recently as a month ago, but the conversations are still happening between the hospital and our parent company, Intermountain Healthcare, and Regents Blue Shield. So I don't think we've ever gotten to the point where we would say we're no longer talking to each other.
Okay. We have a caller with a question. When you hear the cow on my program, it signifies a telephone call. So caller, quickly go ahead with your question for Mr. Barton.
Good morning, Mr. Barton. I have a statement or whatever I want to say because it scared the heck out of us the way the news came on with those people who are on Social Security. And I got a hold of my agent, and he assured me that if Medicare was my primary care, I didn't have anything to be concerned about. Is this true?
Oh, yes. I mean, we continue to be in network for virtually every other insurance carrier. Regents Blue Shield is the only one, and so certainly we are an approved facility for Medicare, Medicaid, and other insurance providers.
I have Blue Cross. That is okay then, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. We have a great relationship with Blue Cross. And I should clarify for the listeners as well, is this only affects people who have Regents Blue Shield of Idaho. We are in network for every other Blue Cross and Blue Shield plan.
Okay.
I mean, out-of-state plans and also Blue Cross of Idaho.
Okay. Caller, thank you.
Being one-sided. It's good here, but it's not good there.
Well, we again, we are dismayed that there are some patients who will be financially and it will be disadvantageous for them to come to our hospital. We think we provide great care and great services, and we think our charges are competitive. So, I'm dismayed that, again, some patients will feel the need to go elsewhere for money reasons.
Caller, thank you.
That's going to be the case. Because if they don't have insurance, I'm covered because I got Blue Cross. But I feel sorry for these aged people who don't have Blue Cross. They have Blue Shield. And they're not able to drive and everything. Are we going to continue to punish them?
Well, I guess let me ask a question back. Are you talking about people who have Medicare?
Yes.
Well, again, we continue to be a Medicare provider.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, but you only accept their secondary insurance, right?
Well, it's not a matter of we don't accept. Then that's a question perhaps for Blue Shield to answer. I am aware that there was a letter that went from Blue Shield members to retirees that said for that particular product that Blue Shield sells, we are still an in-network provider.
All right, caller, thank you very much for your call, and we do welcome other calls. And we're on the line with Rod Barton, the administrator with the Cassia Regional Medical Center. One of the questions I've got, Rod, and we haven't really addressed this, we've talked about how and who as far as patients are going to be affected, but what about your doctors and staff? How does this affect them?
Well, here in Burley, many of the doctors are employed by the hospital, and therefore that will affect them. But most of the physicians are not employed by the doctor, and therefore they continue to have their independent relationship with Blue Shield. They have individual contracts with Blue Shield. So I believe in those cases they continue to be in-network providers, that if a patient goes to see one of those doctors, that they will be fully covered by Blue Shield.
Okay. You know, Rod, I think it goes without saying that in today's imperfect world, is there a perfect answer for health care? It's getting so expensive. It's becoming almost out of sight, out of reach for a lot of people. Obamacare, in my own personal opinion, has been a disaster. I'm not going to put you on the spot to give a political viewpoint on that, but what about health care itself? Can it ever be toned to a point where it's going to fit many, many people instead of only exclusivity?
Yeah, I think you've asked a great question, and I think it's fairly obvious that not just here in the United States, but across the world, there is no perfect answer. Otherwise, there would be other countries that would have implemented those answers. I think the dilemma is, as a society, we haven't quite grappled with the question of whether health care is a right or a privilege. And what I mean by that is we still expect people who have money to pay money towards that health care, unlike other things that we pay taxes towards. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
And yet we've also asked our government to step in and take care of the elderly through the Medicare program and for the poor through the Medicaid program, but we haven't extended that to all citizens in our country. And how to best do that? A free market system wouldn't necessarily work in its perfect stage, nor would I espouse for a government-run payment system. That worries me as well.
Absolutely. We have another caller with a question. Go ahead, caller. Quickly, you're on the air.
Thank you, Zeb. On a former life I had, I used to meet quite often with the Hospital Association. And if my memory is correct, Kasia Regional was statewide was one of the lower cost hospitals. Does that still remain the case, or do you know, Rod?
Yes, I mean the data that we have access to shows that we're one of the lower cost hospitals in the state, which is why we're a little surprised with what Blue Shield has been saying, because that's not what our data shows.
Well, and that's one of the things that surprised me. Thanks, Zeb.
You bet, sir. Thank you for your call. You know, Rod, do you feel, and I know this is kind of a speculation question because you're still involved in kind of probably a tailspin as to what to do next and how it's going to get accomplished, but do you feel that maybe the Kasia Regional Medical Center was singled out for a particular reason or purpose, or what really do you think is the bottom line here?
I don't know. That may be a good question to ask Regents Blue Shield.
I understand, but I'm just, your feeling and your opinion on this in a hopefully reconcilable situation for the patients, for the hospital, for everybody. It seems to me that that's a high priority. Are there negotiations and meetings planned in the future to try to rectify this?
I don't know if I don't know of any meetings that have been planned. There were discussions last week. And I should clarify, of course, we're part of Intermountain Healthcare, which is headquartered out of Salt Lake, and so most of these discussions have been between, Regents out of Boise and Intermountain out of Salt Lake. So I'm not privy to all of those conversations. But I am aware that as recently as last week, there were some telephone conversations between Intermountain representatives and Blue Shield representatives. Well, where that will go, I don't know.
Let me ask you this question. It's been a burden on many people. I was reading, and I've studied up on this as much as I can, and a lot of people are going to have to travel distances, and it's going to be an encumbrance for them. And you as a hospital administrator, I'm absolutely dead certain that you would like to see this resolved as soon as possible, correct?
Yes. But I will also add that it needs to be resolved in a way that's fair and reasonable as far as payments are concerned. I mean, in the healthcare business that we are in right now, we write off a tremendous amount of our billed charges for those who don't have insurance, the uninsured. But even Medicare will only agree to pay a certain amount to every hospital, not just Kasia, and so we write off a significant portion of our bill. We have agreements with other insurance carriers, and that's been always the discussion, is what fair and reasonable payment rates are. So I obviously would like to take care of every patient, but if I'm not getting paid fairly, well, that's not going to work over the long term either.
Absolutely. You know, Rod, are there any final thoughts that you'd like to bring out in front of the public? You have the podium right now, so to speak. And then also, my other part of the question is, do the folks at Cassia Regional, do you have a number that the audience can call if they have questions about their coverage or whatever?
Well, the best thing I would advise people to do is call Blue Shield.
Aha.
Again, I believe that there are several different Blue Shield plans that members can have, and that their coverage is dependent upon that specific plan that they have. So I'm not sure that as a hospital we can actually provide great information about every individual's coverage. I do have a Blue Shield number, and they have disseminated this number to the public. That number is 1-888-367-2117.
Okay.
And I've had individuals who've called that number and gotten answers to their questions.
All right, let me repeat that number to make sure I wrote it down right. 1-888-367-2117. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right, sir. We have another call. Quickly, caller. I'm limited on time. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I was concerned about the hospital, Cassia Regional Hospital here. My understanding is there's quite a few patients that are going other places because Cassia Regional is higher in prices, and I know that to be a fact. My mother had her eye surgery here, and then the second eye she went to Twin Falls because the hospital over there was so much cheaper than this one here.
All right, we'll have Mr. Barton respond on the air. Sir, go ahead, please, Rod. Thank you.
Well, again, hospital pricing is so different between various procedures, but the data that we have shows that on average, Cassia is less expensive than hospitals in Twin Falls, Pocatello, across Idaho. But I recognize that for certain specific procedures, we may have a situation where we're a little higher.
Okay. Rod, I want to tell you, you're a straight-up guy for coming on the program this morning, and I've got a lot of respect for you, and I think my audience should too, for discussing this situation in an open forum this morning. We've been visiting with Mr. Rod Barton with the Cassia Regional Medical Center. He's the administrator, and I'm going to ask you, please, sir, if we have any more information that is very important to this situation, if you'll come back in the future.
Well, it's been my pleasure, Zeb. I appreciate the invitation, and hopefully it's been helpful to your audience.
Sir, have a great day, and thank you again for your time.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. A nice gentleman, and doing their very, very best to serve the public and also to get this spat between Regents Blue Shield of Idaho and, of course, Cassia Regional Medical Center resolved, and I appreciate him coming on the program and talking about it. Mr. Rod Barton, the administrator of Cassia Regional. Thank you very much. Oh, my. We've got to get the weather on here real quick, and the weather's brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, my goodness. Did you get a little bit of money back on your tax returns? Well, why don't you invest it in 70-plus pounds of delicious beef and pork and chicken for only $2.49 plus tax at Scarro's Meats, your hometown meat cutter. It is absolutely delicious. Right now, let's turn it over to Gina for this forecast. I'll be right back.
Not too shabby as we kick off the very first work week in May, but by the end of the week, could see some rain showers in the forecast. For today, sunny skies, high of 69. Tonight, we're expecting a low of 40. Tomorrow, sunny skies and 74 with an overnight low of 43. By Wednesday, we're going to see those clouds rolling in. Partly cloudy and 77 for Wednesday, 76 for Thursday. Friday and Saturday, looks like rain showers could be in the forecast. Highs are going to be in the mid-60s to low 70s. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
She does a wonderful job. Thank you very much, Gina, and brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Oh, my. Let's see. I got some time. Well, I've got some time all of a sudden for some phone calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say this again, that a couple of weeks ago, we put it on our program about 6 times in 3 days that if you're running for a public office and you wanted to get maybe a segment on the show, to call me and ask for some time. And this is the last opportunity. I'm not going to extend that any further than today. If I don't hear from folks today at 312-2976 to possibly come on my program, whether you're running for county sheriff, whether you're running for a commissioner, whatever you're running for, if you want some airtime on this show to tell us why you want the job and why you think you're so qualified, give me a call at 312-2976. I can't leave the door open forever. I have to fill these segments, and we usually book about 2 weeks in advance. So what I'm telling you is the truth. If you have not called today and asked for some airtime to come on a segment, I'm not going to provide it after today. I just don't have time, nor do I want the cancellation of other guests in those segments. So you've got to let me know what your thoughts are. Number 2, I also want to remind you that on May 17th is primary day to go to the polls, but on May 12th, 5 days before on this program, I am going to go through the candidates. I am going to talk about their qualifications. I am going to give you my opinion. This may infuriate some people, but that's the nature of the beast. We're going to go through and give you an honest appraisal of what's going on and who's in the running. And other sources in the media do it. I've done it in the past on my show, and I continue to do it. And we're going to see who's the most qualified for the various positions. Once again, call 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I have just a moment, I want to remind you about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I am so proud to have them as our major sponsor, and they ask you a simple question. Are you ready for summer travel? Well, if you're not, you should be. And for your pickups and SUVs, they've got the Terramax HT tire. Oh, listen to this. All-season tire, economically priced. This is a good one. Yes, sirree, starting at just $89.99. And they've got the Backcountry SQ4, all-season tread, smooth, quiet ride, starting at just $151. You better get in there and check out all the tires you need for safe driving on your pickups, your cars, your automobiles, your horse trailers, boat trailers. My goodness, they've got the best. And don't forget to very convenient credit terms at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best in brake service, the best in front end alignments and shocks and struts and batteries. They got a battery for every need. So by golly, get in there and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Wheels, did you clear your throat, or was that just me hearing something?
No, not that I know of.
Okay, scared you. Don't clear your throat, young man. Okay. Thank you.
How's your day going?
It's been a ripper. Thank you very much. Tomorrow on the program, got some great people. We're going to have Judson Phillips talking about the state of our United States right now and what we can do to rectify it. Frosty Woldridge is going to be on the program talking about illegal immigration. And back in the saddle tomorrow, after being gone for a couple of weeks, the great Dr. History, Dr. Ken Turner at 10:06. Holy cow, is it going to be fun. We're right here on KBAR 1230 AM and streaming live all over the world, zebbell.com, on the internet service, and you can also watch. Click on the audio and the visual button, and we've got cameras here in the studio, and you can see what's going on. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, Zeb at the Ranch wishing you a very, very nice day, and remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.